Jai Shri Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, the passing away of Bhīṣmadeva in the presence of Lord Shri Krishna. Here in the verse 44, it was mentioned that Sutta Goswami telling to the sage in the Nimisaranya that knowing that Bhīṣmadeva had merged into the ultimate eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there become silent like birds at the end of the day. So here it is mentioned सम्पद्यमनमन् अजन्य विस्मं ब्रह्मणि निष्कळे सर्वे बभूविष्येते तूनिं भोयं शिवदीनतये. So here the purport is to enter into or to become merged into the ultimately unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute means to enter the original home of the living being. The living being are all components, parts and parcel of the Supreme Absolute Personality of Godhead, and therefore they are eternally related with Him as the servitor and the served. The Lord is served by all his part and parcel as the complete machine is served by its part and parcels. Any parts of the machine removed from the whole is no longer important. Similarly, any part and parcel of the absolute detached from the service of the Lord is useless. The living being who are in material world are all disintegrated part and parcel of the supreme whole, and they are no longer as important as the original part and parcels. There are, however, more integrated living beings who are eternally liberated. The material energy of the Lord, called Durga Shakti, or the superintendent of the prison's house, takes charge of the disintegrated part and parcels, and thus they undergo a conditioned life under the law of material nature. When the living being becomes conscious of this fact, he tried to go back home, back to Godhead, and thus the spiritual urge of the living being begins. The spiritual urge is called Brahma Jigyasa, or inquiry about Brahma. Principally, this Brahma Jigyasa is successful by knowledge, renunciation, and devotional service to the Lord. Jnana or knowledge means knowledge of everything of Brahma, the Supreme. Renunciation means detached from material attachment or affection. And devotional service is the revival by practicing of the original position of the living being. The successful living being who are eligible to enter into the realm of the absolute are called the Gyanis. The yogis and the bhaktas. The Gyanis and yogis enter into the impersonal rays of the Lord, Supreme Lord. But the bhaktas enter into the spiritual planet known as the Vaikunthas. In this spiritual planet, the Supreme Lord as Narayana predominates, and the healthy, unconditioned living being live thereby rendering loving services to the Lord in the capacity of a servant, friend, parents, and fiancé. There, the unconditioned living being enjoy life in full freedom with the Lord, whereas impersonalist Gyanis and yogis enter into the impersonal glowing influence of the Vaikuntha planets. The Vaikuntha planets are all self-illuminating like the sun, and the ray of the Vaikuntha planets are called Brahmayoti. The Brahmayoti is spread limitedly, and the material world is but a cover portion of the insignificant part of the same Brahmayoti. This covering is temporary, and therefore it is a sort of illusion. Bhīṣmadeva, as a pure devotee of the Lord, entered the spiritual realm of in one of the Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord, in his eternal form of a Parthasarathi, predominates over the unconditioned soul, unconditioned living being who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord, and the love and affection which bind the Lord and the devotee are exhibited in the case of Bhīṣmadeva. Bhīṣmadeva never forget the Lord in his transcendental features as the Parthasarathi, and the Lord was present personally before Bhīṣmadeva while he was passing to the transcendental world. That is the highest perfection of a life. Jai Jagannath, Jai Sri Krishna.